everybody, welcome to Kitchen Competent. I'm getting my computer up. I'll be right back. Get yourself a cup of coffee because we're going to sit and talk about planning. I'm trying to figure out how to get this up so I can see the comments. So hang in there. Kitchen Competent. If you haven't signed on, like me. Okay, now I can actually see something, I hope. Hi everyone, this is Chef Anne Marie and I'm in my own home today, and we're going to be talking about planning and about just getting ready for a long weekend like next weekend, or stocking up your freezer. We're also going to be cooking chicken, so welcome to my kitchen. Welcome to Chef Anne Marie, and this is Kitchen Competent number 2. I guess I'm a little behind, which is cool because I'm watching. So if you have comments or questions, please ask them. I'm going to have everything set up to hopefully see them. I'm here by myself, social distancing, and we're excited to get you comfortable in your kitchen. You don't have to be a rock star, but let's be comfortable so we can enjoy our time. Thank you for coming. I suggest you get a cup of coffee because that's what I have. One of the things that I do when I'm in the kitchen and what I'm trying to do here on the camera is to get comfortable with it. And so when I get into my kitchen, I can't because of the video, but I usually put on some music or my favorite show or whatever's going on, you know, for my mood. And then I also pick my favorite beverage, which is good for my mood. This morning, 9 a.m., I choose coffee. But if it's in the evening and I'm feeling it, hi Joanne, welcome. I really enjoy a glass of wine, or if it's a hot day, iced tea, a nice big cup of water, but whatever it is, get yourself something to drink, get yourself some paper and pen, and let's sit down and learn about planning, and then we'll go right into cooking chicken. So the reason why we need to plan, there's several reasons. One, there are money savings in it. There are time savers. There is brain saving and calorie saving. So it really affects all of us. And it's good to plan, but there's different ways to plan. I have seen things where they plan to be strict and you plan out each meal for each day. There are planning where you can plan to do certain things and then do certain meals, and then others you wing. I prefer kind of a mix. What I do is Monday is my planning day because Sunday and Mondays are my days off, generally, unless I have an event. So Sunday and Mondays are off. So Monday I plan my meals for the week, but here's the trick. I don't plan the whole week strictly, because every time you do, someone shows up and says, hey, let's go grab something, or your husband comes home and goes, I feel like supporting someone local, let's go order something. So I like to do that too, and I hate it when I have something planned. I don't want to waste it, and at the same point I want to go do what's fun. So, or you get caught late at work, whatever it is. So what I do is Mondays are my days that I plan and purchase the stuff. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, I cook all of the proteins. So I will cook things like, I'll cook a couple things of chicken and a couple different beefs all at the same time. It's an hour in the kitchen. It's your time spent, but then when you cool it down and you have it for the rest of the week, it's really nice to be able to walk in after a hard day's work or out playing with the kids or whatever you're doing. Hi, Kim. And see that you can just say, oh, tonight let's have chicken fettuccine. You boil some noodles, chicken's all cooked, throw it together 20-minute meals. So I highly suggest that you take 1 or 2 nights of protein. When I had my kids at home and there was a lot going on, I would a lot of times cook all of it. Like I'll cook all the chicken on Tuesday night. I'll eat one meal that I plan that really can't hold over, like a breaded chicken or something like that. And then the rest of the chicken I'll cook different ways, in the oven or whatever, and then throw it in the refrigerator. And then that would be Tuesday night. Wednesday night, I would cook the beef, and I would make something that doesn't hold over, and, you know, make a London broil or make a flank steak or something like that. Make several different beef dishes at one time in the hour that I'm in the kitchen anyways. And then when I come home on Thursday and Friday, I just pull it out and say, okay, the meat's done. I'm going to warm it up with a baked potato. I'm going to, you know, whatever it is. But that way I can do chicken, beef, and even the pork if we want pork. The thing I got caught up on is the weekends. They kind of got to be real flexible because people do things. And right now we're at home, but I'm hoping this will get you comfortable to where you think about these things even when we don't have to be home all the time. So think about cooking all your proteins one night and having them for 4 nights. Most things except fish, so chicken, pork, and beef, will last 5 to 7 days as long as you get it chilled right away and put it in the refrigerator, put it in a nice Ziploc bag or in your casserole container covered. They will last, and then you can make them into other things. If I know I have one night I'm going to make tacos, or I'll just, if I don't like to plan and I don't know what everybody's feeling, there's a lot of people that say my husband, he wants what he wants when he wants. Well, if you have chicken and you have beef and you have things in your fridge all cooked, it's real easy to flex and go where they need to. If I have ground beef cooked, I can make stroganoff, I can make spaghetti. If I have a steak, I can make steak salad. I can make a steak. I can saute it in a pan for tacos. There's so many different things that you can do with having things planned out as far as your proteins. So I have to look at my cheater notes just a second. Welcome, Kim. I just saw that you came up again. So planning is huge. It's huge for budget. It's huge for all of it. Another thing I suggest that you do is you decide what kind of planner you are. Do you want it all strict? You can plan it all strict. You can see behind me I made sure that the blackboard was in there because Angie had said, you got to make sure you put up what it is. So there's my sign, Angie. Thank you, Angie. The other thing is I usually put down what we're going to have for the week. And again, I say it's the week. I don't do it on the weekends because I like to be more flexible because I have more time when I'm in this situation. It's the reverse when we're not. Hi, Joan. I write on my chalkboard, then my husband knows, oh, she's going to make that tonight. Or I can say, hey, we're going to make that. And sometimes I go to work and I work, and I come home and my head, I'm so hungry and so tired and my brain is tired. And to come in the door and see on the chalkboard or see on a piece of paper on the fridge that, yes, that's what I'm going to make tonight. I don't have to think about it. Then I can turn the music on. As I said before, grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine, big cup of iced tea, whatever your mood is. Turn on some music and just cook. You don't have to stand here and go, what should I make for dinner? I don't know what to make for dinner. I don't have to think about it on the way home. You can also do that for lunches if your kids are at home. The other thing I have to show you is, I'm not very good at this right here. I have a little piece of paper here that says I need, and every time I use the last of the olive oil, every time I use the last of anything, I just jot it down on there so that I'm not sitting there going, now what was it I needed from the grocery store? I know the last time I was cooking, I ran out of something, but I can't remember what it was. So have a little piece of paper. This is all about planning and getting organized. And I'm trying to get over my nervousness because we're in the first 15 minutes. So you can plan like crazy. You can just do finishing touches. For those that just showed up, you can cook your proteins 1 or 2 nights. Sometimes if I have a busy week, I'll cook all my proteins in the one night and take an hour and a half at the stove while I'm cooking dinner anyways. Or I'll cook all my chicken one night and the beef the next night. Then we know what's for dinner and we can move on and then have that in the fridge to pull out and make into other things. We always wing the weekend. That's for us at our house. Hi, Kim. We are planning. Welcome. So we like to wing it on our weekends, and our weekends are Sunday and Monday. So Monday's my planning day. And that's the time that we usually go grab something, support local. I really love planning because it takes away my brain power. I don't have to think about it. At work, I'm thinking about menus and weddings and what we're cooking for the week there and all these things. And I love to sit down, go through it, be inspired, and be done. You can also put a piece of paper up and have your kids or your husband or your wife put down what they'd like to see for when you're planning. Hi, Gail. So in the different planning, we have the strict planning, we have the general planning, so you can generally plan and just not know what night, but plan 4 meals. You can make all your proteins and leave it to wing it later and do your finishing touches. But this is all part of mise en place, which was in the other video that I will say in every video. Mise en place means things in their place. It's about being organized. So that's a way to be organized. Let's talk about stocking. Let's talk about stocking up. So stocking up in this case is about proteins. And next week we're going to be grilling all sorts of stuff. So it will get into the beefs and all that stuff, and it's going to mainly be cooking. This week is all about planning and cooking chicken. So one of the things that I want to talk about is your scraps or your pieces that are left over. When I'm cleaning out the freezer or the refrigerator and I have a handful of carrots left and I'm bringing in new carrots, when I, even potatoes, if you've cooked potatoes, and I have a potato left, I'll dice it and put it on a sheet pan, a small cookie sheet, and put it in the freezer and then pull it out when it's frozen individually. That's called IQF. I'll put it in a bag and put it back in the freezer. Then they're individual and you can pull them out. And those things are good for, and I forgot one step. When you are cleaning up after you've cooked for your family or yourself and you have a chicken breast left or a piece of chicken left, or you have some beef left, put it in a little baggie and put it in the freezer. Because what you can do is pull that out and do a quick stir fry with it. You get enough of those baggies, you can have celery in there. Celery is not good to eat. When you freeze it, it's not good to pull out and eat raw, but it'll cook into things really nicely. Same with potatoes, same with carrots, onions, all those things freeze. They just get opaque and they cook off real nice in your pan. So I have a little box in my freezer that has little baggies, and when I'm saying, okay, what do we want to cook? I'll pull out some yakisoba noodles or some rice, make some rice, and I'll grab some of those little bags and make a stir fry. Or I'll boil some penne pasta and pull up some cream and some mushrooms and just pull out that chicken and all those things and make a pasta dish. We call it Ann Creation at our house, and we like it. So if you just tuned in, we're talking about storing scraps. We're talking about planning your meals, and planning meals is scary. It's not scary. I recommend that you do it your style. So you can either plan strictly every meal, or you can plan wing it meals and just cook your proteins, or even just plan to use your Instapot, which we'll cover as well. Instapots are awesome. One of the things that is really, really important is that you do not cook frozen chicken. And the reason is because all the liquid comes out of it and then it's dry. So let's start talking about chicken and move right in. Let me know if you have any questions about planning or need help. I'll answer all the questions at the end if I haven't seen them. If I have, I'll shout it out. But the thing about frozen chicken is most people don't like chicken because it's dry. And it's because of the way you cook it, because of the way you start to cook it. There's many reasons why. Chicken is so versatile. But there is one thing that's important is, and I've said that before, there is something that's very important, and I need to talk about cross-contamination. So people get confused about what cross-contamination is. And before you cook in your kitchen, you should really know this. This is very important in commercial cooking, but it's also important at home. You should be cautious of all raw meats. I have a certain cutting board that's a different color than all others, and I always use that only for raw meat. That's important. So what cross-contamination is if you get something that needs to be cooked before you eat it, such as chicken juice. You get the liquid off the chicken that's raw, and then if it were to touch your lettuce or something that you don't cook, very bad. That is what cross-contamination is. That's why most people think they have the flu, and that's what makes you sick. The confusing part is it's really good to just keep in mind that you always separate everything. And I always have a special cutting board I cut my meat on. They're all important to keep separate, but if I'm at home and I'm doing a stew and I cut the chicken and I brown it in the pan and I've rinsed off my board, normally I wouldn't use it, but you can if you're cutting things that'll go in the same stew. That's not cross-contamination. It's all about the cooking the meat juices. The meat juices need to be cooked. And the other thing is, I've had a lot of people tell me they're really scared of beef. Beef isn't as scary as chicken. Chicken, for me, is the only thing I know that you do not eat raw. You want to make sure you cook it properly. Beef, you can go rare, medium rare. You just got to be careful. You can eat tartare, which is a special ground meat that you eat that people eat raw. I personally don't, but a lot of people do. Sushi is another thing. You at home need to be careful of all those things. But sushi is another thing that you can eat, but there is no raw chicken. That is, don't do it. Don't try it. Hi, Christy. Welcome. Do not cross-contaminate your food. So keep a separate cutting board that you only do raw meat on, and make sure you wash that first thing. That is one of the things I never leave in the sink. I clean it right away and put it right into my dishwasher. So, having said that, I'm going to try and move the camera so it's by my refrigerator or my stove so that I can cook. So hold on, grab your cup of coffee again. Let's see if I can get it. Nope, it's that way. Okay, now I have everything set up here that I know of that I need. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get the pan hot. I'm gonna show you a couple things and we'll talk all the way through. See, I can't even turn on my own stove when I'm in front of people. Okay, so I've got my little cast iron frying pan. When I start to cook, I always put my oven on 350, no matter what I'm cooking almost, because I always finish things in the oven. And while the pan's getting hot and I'm waiting, let's talk about what we need to do to make the chicken good for you and not bad for you. Chicken should be cooked to 165. But there is a thing called pasteurizing, and everybody knows pasteurizing from milk. Milk stays longer and nicer and doesn't go bad quick because they pasteurize it, right? Well, and there's pasteurized honey, and it has to do with the heating process. So you can actually pasteurize chicken It doesn't mean it'll last longer. It means that you don't have to cook it to 165, which is quite dry if you're going to reheat it again. So what you can do is cook your chicken to 145 or 140. I'm sorry, 140, but it has to sit at least at 140 for 8.5 minutes or more. So if I'm cooking something in the oven, I know it's good as long as it got to 140 and it stayed there for 8 to 9 minutes. Okay. The other thing is you can marinate your chicken. You can take a simple vinaigrette like we learned in the first Kitchen Competent, and you can keep it in marinated, and you really only need to marinate a half an hour at room temperature per inch. So we take our chicken here. See the chicken? It's about an inch. So this would actually only have to marinate a half an hour. You have to be careful of your marinades. If you add anything that's acid, which is lemon or vinegar, any of that, it'll actually start to cook the chicken, and then it'll make it rubbery and dry. So you don't want to marinate chicken a long time. Meat, yes. Chicken, not so much. So I can hear our pan getting hot. Hi everyone for tuning in. I just already started, and I started the oven at 350, and it's heated already so that we can use it later. I've got the pan heating up. I happen to be using a cast iron pan this time. A lot of times I'll use a non-stick. It depends on what you're gonna do. I just put some olive oil in the pan. I'm gonna do chicken simple, and then we're gonna talk about different things you can do. If this were a weeknight and I was making chicken, I might have some in the oven, because the oven is your sous chef. Don't forget the oven. It is something that you can pop something in while you're doing something else. So I call it my sous chef, because it's cooking while I'm not. As long as you set a timer or are aware of it. But use your senses and really smell and think about what's going on before you set a timer, because it's really good for you to learn that too. But if you're really busy, when I get really busy, I set a timer. I know when I bake cookies for, say, Christmas time, and I'm baking a bunch of cookies, I don't set timers because I watch it because I'm doing something else. But almost always, I burn the last pan because I get busy cleaning up and forget about it. So it depends on what you've got going. So I've got the pan, hot oil. Let's talk about seasoning. I've got some salt and pepper here. Because I'm doing simple things, I really want to do it very simple and then go elaborate. Because my feeling is, that's salt and pepper, my feeling is you can go find a recipe anywhere. I'm trying to get you comfortable to cook on your own. So I always, when you're cooking in the pan, do the good side. See, that's the yucky side. There's the good side. I'm going to do that side down. Okay? And we're just going to do that side down first. Now I have the raw chicken. So I'm going to do it. It's going to go over here. I've got new tongs. The thing about the tongs is you can use them or a spatula, whatever you're comfortable with. But I'm just going to do a simple chicken breast today. If I was cooking during the week, I have stuff going in the oven. I might have a pot boiling to cook off some chicken to go into something. And I may be frying a few so that I have some chicken for the week. That's part of planning your meals. Now, we're going to don't check too often. I want to make sure you're not sticking. While that's putting grease all over the place, I am going to talk about different things. Now, I can cook this chicken and eat it like this. I can make a pan sauce with a little lemon and some onion in there and saute that after I take the chicken out and then saute it back in. I can chop up the chicken and put it on a salad. In fact, that reminds me, I need to season both sides. So I I can slice it and put it in tacos, saute it. I like sliced chicken and saute it with salsa, and that's really good in a taco or a fajita. It's endless, but chicken is one of those things that people don't know how to cook, so that's why we're cooking it. People get confused. I'm hoping this will look good. Let's see. Yes. See, that's why I like corn. So, we got a little color on it. See if I can show you here closer. Nice and seasoning color. So now the most of the chicken, I want to cook on the back side. I just wanted to get the exact color I wanted on the first side, the front side. It's that way with fish, it's that way with chicken. And beef, you always start the part that's going to be up facing someone, we call it the face, goes down first, you get the color you want, flip it over, and then finish it off and let it cook the most. Hi Greg. So we have chicken in the pan. We can do anything we want with this chicken. Once it starts cooking, and for the magic of TV, I pour water. I don't have a cup, this is what I use. So what that's going to do is it's going to boil it a little bit. You can see the steam on it. I can't open I can't open the vent, turn on the vent because it makes noise. I have here is a meat thermometer. This is a fancy one. It costs $14. But you can get them for even $5. Don't have a kitchen without a meat thermometer, because you don't know what the inside of that is, and if it's less than 140 pasteurized or less than 160 without pasteurizing it, you will make yourself or your family sick. So do not do that. So now that I have this going, and I'm going to let it steam there so that you can see that it's cooking. 1 second, let me do something here. So that you can see that it's cooking. If I was doing other things, I might take this pan and throw it in the oven and let it finish off in the oven. I'm going to check the temperature just so you can see what's going on here. And like I said, next week will be a lot better because I'm going to be grilling and the most of it's going to be cooking. I didn't do this in my commercial kitchen because I wanted to invite you into my home and show you how I plan, and because of that it's really hard and I don't want to turn my back to you, so we're going to go with this. See, right now it's only 73 degrees, so we're going to leave it. It's got a while to go. So let's go recap the planning. I'm going to toss this in the oven so I don't have to pay attention to it and I can pay attention to you. There we are. Oven's off. Now we'll switch back again to my seat here. Okay. A little too far. Okay. So, that's it on cooking. Let's talk about it. So, the cooking part of the chicken is breasts and white meat are important to cook them quickly. They aren't something you'll stew forever. Whereas if you do a dark meat like a thigh or a leg, those are the things you stew. I just made amazing, while we're taking the chicken out, I might pull it out. I just made coq au vin yesterday for a wine club, and it was amazing because it cooked beautifully. It had a nice silky sauce to it, made with the wine. There's so many different things. I've had a lot of people say, I don't like thighs. Well, I love thighs because you can torture them. You cook them forever. You can't really, have you ever had an overcooked thigh? You can't. You can't overcook a thigh unless you burn it. It's, you can make anything or do anything. Yes, Kim, I use boiling water. I like to boil chicken if I'm going to chop it. A lot of times I will boil whole chicken breasts while I'm doing something else and then use it like in my chicken enchiladas. Deanne, I love chicken thighs too. It's my husband's favorite, but and I like it all. I'm a chicken person though. I would miss chicken more than I would miss beef, even though I love good steak. But so think about it. Slow and low is a thigh. Fast and hot is a chicken breast. For those of you tuning in, this week we are talking about planning your meals, cooking a bunch of proteins at one time so that you don't have to spend all your time in the kitchen. You can make 20-minute meals. Recap on what I have said in the past half hour is that I have a Sunday, Monday weekend, my husband and I. So what we do is Monday is our planning day. Monday or Tuesday, I will cook chicken, and I'll do it several different ways. I'll pop some in the oven, I'll cook it, whatever, and make my meal for that night, and then put the rest in the refrigerator, and that way I can just pull it out and make it with something to make a different meal for the rest of the week. And then the next night, Tuesday or Wednesday, I make my beef. So I'll make a flank steak on the grill, and this time of year I like to start grilling, and I love to do it all on the grill, and we'll be covering that next week, and it'll be mostly cooking next week because we got a lot to cook. I'm going to show you can cook almost anything on a grill. It's really fun. So next week will be grill. We have a chicken in the oven finishing, a piece of chicken breast for my lunch. We are going to talk about what all the different things you can do about it. Planning, I think there's 3 different kinds of planning. And again, I'm bobbing all over the board, and I apologize. I'm just trying to remember to recap for you. Planning, you can strictly plan your meals out for the week. You can just have things on hand and then pull them out and cook them as you feel. Or you can do it in between and do what I do, which is cooking for 2 nights, have 2 different things planned to do when I feel like it, but have the cooked proteins, and then wing it on the weekends. That's kind of what I worked with, and everybody's household is different, and you can groove into different. Let's talk about stocking up your freezer. Your freezer, it's really important that you keep stuff in your freezer that have both long cook and short cook. Beef's easy because you know what to do as far as you like the certain steaks, certain ground beef, certain different cuts of meat, roasts, whatever, just have some of that on hand. But chicken is kind of cool because you only have to have your leg and your thigh and your breast, or your breast and your thigh and your wing, or whatever you like, and keep those in the freezer, and that way you can pop them out. And then what I like to keep a pork loin, because to me pork loin's versatile. You can cut them into chops, you can do whatever. So I love a good pork loin, and those are the things I keep in my freezer. Let's talk about texture of chicken. So if you're coming in new, one of the things we talked about is pasteurizing your chicken. If you can keep your chicken between 140 and internal temperature between 140 and 165, and you can do that for 8.5 or more minutes on your breasts, you can easily do it with your thighs. You can make your chicken really moist. If you decide to marinate your chicken, it can go either way. So your basic marinades don't have a lot of acid to them, so they work really well, and they'll break down the composition of the chicken and cook really well. If you make your own marinades, which I encourage you to do, from Kitchen Competent 1, we made salad dressings. Those are also marinades. So it's delicious to marinate chicken in like your vinaigrettes or any of those things. But if you do that, remember that you don't want to do it very long. Chicken is a short marinade, not a long marinade, unless it's a sweeter, like a teriyaki sauce that doesn't have, it's a lot sweeter and not so much acid. The acid will make it rubbery. Another thing you can do that I am not allowed to do in my kitchen, I'll tell you honestly, is you can marinate your chicken if you're worried about it being dry. And this is a trick we use in catering so that we can have buffets last a long time, is you can marinate for 3 to 6 hours in buttermilk. Buttermilk somehow breaks down the composition of chicken and makes it very moist. And the reason I'm not allowed to do it in my house is because we had a fight over the fact that he didn't think, my husband, who's wonderful and will eat almost anything, didn't think the chicken was cooked. And I had to show him that it was cooked because it was so moist and soft and tender. So I like it that way. He likes it on the drier side. One of the things you have to think about with your textures is think about how you're cooking or what you're using it in. So a fajita meat, you want a little less tender, a little more dry, or a pulled chicken, a tender chicken wouldn't work. It has to be a dry chicken. And the thing is it's all about your audience as well. Because your audience, my husband grew up with dry chicken. So to him, when it's moist and tender and juicy, he's like, oh, this isn't done, it's not right. Whereas other people are like, I don't like chicken because it's too dry. Well, you've got to learn your method, and I'm happy to help anyone that needs to know or adjust their method of what they do with their chicken to get it where it is. But don't overcook it, but make sure you keep it in the safe zone. And if you're going to cook it a long time, go for thighs, dark meat. If you're going to cook it for a short time, cook it with a high, and the high heat, and the quick is for your chicken breasts. You can cook in Instapots and things like that. They're awesome, and that's a whole nother class that I'll have to add on later. We have to really watch how we cook our chicken. One of the money-saving things I said earlier was, let's say you cook dinner, you have half a breast left, or one breast, or a thigh, or a piece of meat, any kind of beef, whatever. Put that in a baggie and put it in a box in your fridge. I have a box that has all, like, a handful of carrots that were left. When I bought carrots, I put them in the fridge, and I take the old ones and I put them in the freezer. I do celery, I do onions, I do any kind of leftover meat. Then you can go through that baggie box, and you can do where you can make things like stews and stir fries and pastas with that little bit of stuff when it's just the two of you, or when you get enough of those little baggies to make a lot. So Debbie is asking, buttermilk biscuits go with chicken too, so you can use up to the carton. Yes, so that is a good thing to talk about. I love the buttermilk biscuits. There is a trick to buttermilk though, if you want to know the truth. You can take milk or half and half, add a little vinegar, and it makes buttermilk if you don't have buttermilk. It'll give you the same result. But buttermilk, I always, when I have leftover carton of buttermilk, I have a banana bread recipe that's really good as well. But biscuits reminded me, chicken, you can do chicken and dumplings, you can do any of those wonderful things with those pieces of chicken. I like to have grilled or sliced chicken to put on my salads. I can stir fry it into anything. I'm just spitballing here, trying to remember all the things that you can do with chicken, but don't count it out. I have a friend, Laura, if you're listening, who is always struggling because her husband says he doesn't like chicken. Well, don't overcook it. That's what I have to say, is don't overcook it. Let's talk about freezing it. Chicken is good frozen, but do not cook it frozen. Make sure that you defrost it. And it's really quick and easy to frost chicken. You just put it in water in your sink for half an hour, and it'll defrost right away in cold water. It's really important that you don't leave it out for more than 4 hours. Remember, nothing raw should be out for more than 4 hours. And that's cumulative, so that even counts the 15 minutes it took you to get from the grocery store. So just don't go in there. Hi, Tom. I'm glad you're laughing. Don't cook frozen chicken, and the reason is that's what makes it dry, because all the liquid escapes from it. The other thing is chicken, when we're cutting large amounts at the commercial kitchen, what we do is we do it slightly frozen. We'll pull it out, put it in water. When it's half defrosted, we'll cut it up and then put it back in the water. And the reason is it holds better and it's an easier cut when you're doing a large amount. So cutting chicken is okay as frozen, but don't cook it, because as soon as the heat goes to it, it releases its juices, which leads me into carryover. One of the other things people don't remember, most people know when you cook a steak or you cook a roast, you pull it out, or your turkey, you leave it sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes to let the juices dry back in, so that when you cut it, the juices don't run out. Well, people forget the chicken breasts are the same. They don't have to sit for 15 minutes. They can sit for 5, but you want to make sure you do that so that it can hold its juices. Otherwise, the juices run out and it becomes dry. I think, let's talk about seasoning before and after. So seasoning before and after is another thing that I haven't touched on. If I'm going to cook something in a sauce, then I do not season it before, because the salt can leach a little of the liquid out. If I'm going to use it like at my application today, where I threw it in the pan and I'm going to cut it up and use it in a salad or something like that, I will season it before and after. When you're cooking things, it drives it into, when you're cooking your chicken, it drives this flavoring into it, but it doesn't stay on the outside. So it's really important that you do both, because that's going to be a brighter, you're not going to taste it as much. It dulls it a little, but it's important to do both. Unless you're cooking it where you're going to put it in a sauce or something. Let me think what else. Any questions? It's easier to teach a class because you can ask for questions. So plan your meals. Make sure you stock up your freezer and refrigerators, or your freezers, with different types of chicken. And don't be afraid. I don't like thighs. If you don't like thighs, it's okay, but you might be able to cook it where you'd love it. I have some recipes in my cookbook, and I have to give you this disclaimer. I don't follow recipes, but I use them. When I go to cook something and I want to make sure it's good, I go look at 5 different recipes, look at what the commonalities and what the ratios are, and then I cook it from there. But as far as following a recipe, you can find them on the internet. I do it every day. But in this class, the idea is to get you comfortable to be able to just wing it. So today we're winging chicken. I'm going to bring over the chicken and we're going to look at it. Instead of moving the camera, I'm going to bring it to you. Well, I can't see now because of the... Okay, so there is our chicken. Where did I do with my thermometer? I'm going to grab the chicken. When you're temping your chicken, you always want to go in to the center of the largest part. So, this says it is, we're waiting, you have to wait for the thermometer. See how I go into the center. If you get the edge, you're only getting the edge of where it cooked. When the thermometer slows down, it's got about another 5 minutes in there. Wasn't quite up to temp yet, but it's getting there, and you can see it's tender. It's got a good look to it. I'm just about out of time, so I can't talk about finishing that, but what I'm going to do is take some white wine, finish off the pan with a little garlic white wine, simple, and give it a good zip and flavor. Next week we're grilling. Sorry, today's all talk. Next week, 9 a.m., we will be grilling everything. You'll be amazed at what we can grill, and I'll be grilling here in my backyard. So I challenge you to get with me this week and see if you have a question about something that can be grilled, because I can grill all but oatmeal, I think. And I think I could pull off oatmeal too. But grilling is so important, and next week, it's so important to keeping your body healthy and your mind fresh, because it's nice to be outside, have your favorite beverage, and just have a good time. So thank you for joining, and we will see you next week at 9 a.m. with grilling tips. So stay healthy and enjoy your kitchen is the point. Thank you. Have a good week.